back to another episode of One Shot, One Quill, a podcast where we produce tabletop one-shots by us for you, free of charge. I'm joined, as always, by Ben, my brilliant, able-bodied co-host.
I feel like it's weird that you specify they're free of charge. It almost seems like you are setting up an eventual possibility that we are going to charge for some of these.
For now, they are free, listener. We do have a guest this week. We have a guest who has contributed quite a bit to the show already, but has not been here in voice. Brittany, would you like to make your formal introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have, DM'd a couple homebrew D&D sessions. I've been a player for many years. I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and I'm just here for a good time.
Would you say you're someone who has more ideas than opportunities to execute them?
You could say I have contributed almost every idea to this show so far.
As a matter of fact, Brittany has written every single premise we've used for the game so far. Now, we also have some new user-suggested content to add to the list. I'm excited to see if we can pull some of that up.
It's from my side account. It's also mine.
For the record, if you guys don't start sending us things, we're gonna have to hire one of the people down on the street. And trust me,
you're not gonna like the show at that point. Yeah,
they do not have good ideas.
Your party has to find out where to buy oxytocin.
Speaking of,
can I suggest that idea?
That's just the streets of where I live. It's a beautiful city, I promise.
Speaking of, this podcast is a show in which we take one user-suggested prompt for a D&D campaign or any tabletop RPG, along with two items that are interesting in some way, throw them together, make a one-shot out of them, and at the end of the day, we just hope that you end up with something that either you can use or you can't.
So Ben, could you provide me, to begin with, we need a premise. So we have 4 options to choose from at the moment. Go ahead and
I bet they're all great ideas.
Rattle off a D4.
Looks like we got a 2.
A 2. All right. Treasure hunters have been searching for a magical item for centuries, yet each adventuring group is filled with the sudden desire to re-hide the magic item again before they immediately die.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Interesting. And you know what's nice about that is that it allows us to just throw the magic items in there.
It does. This premise really has taken a lot of the weight off our shoulders and put it instead onto one of the items we're picking from this week. So Ben, could you shoot a number out, 1 out of 52?
Oh, 52.
Get out your D52.
Yeah, my D52. I'll get it out of my custom dice where I have 1 through 50 all custom made. 45 is what I rolled.
45. A cloudbuster, which can artificially make the weather within a certain range become stormy.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
It's also kind of traumatizing because the cloudbuster was also a device from a cock and bull about a man who also invented the sex box.
That's kind of cute.
And harvested people's fuck energy. So
that's real cute.
Spencer, guests can cross-promote. I will not tolerate cross-promotion from you.
Ooh, this was all just a big cross-promo gambit, though. This is going to be a deal breaker. I couldn't wait to weasel in a Blunderphonics episode.
I feel like unless we get a particularly unusable one for our second roll, that could just be the magic item that makes them want to die.
Yeah.
Second item is going to be a 24, by the way.
A 24 is a lone red door in a field. Any who cross through it must make an Arcana check. Though crossing through it does nothing. There is no successful roll. They don't know that.
I like that.
This is just gaslighting.
Yeah, we have a gaslighting element that will take up easily 2 hours of your session.
I love the implication here that they're just running around trying to hide a very red door. Just probably strapped to their back with some rope.
To hide. We're not gonna. Yeah. They've just got the storm buster. And they're like, we gotta hide this door because we don't know. Oh, that's perfect. We can. One of them walks through it initially, and they're like, guys, we gotta get rid of this. They're like, what happened? And the person on the other side's just like, that's the thing. I don't know.
I don't know yet.
I actually vaguely like the implication that this doorway ends up in a very innocuous and remote setting. So it says hidden. They're compelled to hide it. Normally when we think hiding an item, I don't know about you guys, but I imagine under the couch cushions in a like little concealed area. But the idea of hiding it in that it's so remote that it's in a landscape no one would ever see is kind of like hauntingly surreal to me.
Here's a potential solution. They pass a couple checks, they build a building, and on the side they write, bad smells, don't go in.
You're a newlywed couple. You've bought your first house. You know, it's your honeymoon. You walk through the door, and suddenly you just get the urge to, you know, break apart your house and go re-hide this door. And then immediately die afterwards.
So, like, when it says immediately die afterwards, compounding the surreal horror vibe in my head here, we've traveled into the depths of the unknown, like these storm-raging fjordlands or whatever, just like an inhospitable terrain. Been traveling for a week. There's a red door, and there's a fucking skeleton next to it, like, of the last guy who put it down, like... How immediate is immediate?
I don't think it's like he puts it down and then he's like, all right, time to off myself.
It says they immediately die. And this is gospel.
I think that's what adds to, you know, just the surreal horror of the door. Like, you walk through it, nothing happens, but clearly something happened because, you know, there's just a skeleton laying next to it.
You know what I like about this? Is that it's something that we've not gotten on this show yet, which is that someone has to die.
Is this a curse?
I think dying's a pretty big curse. I don't know.
I don't mean mortality. But, and I don't mean this show, but are we coming to a conclusion here that this door is cursed?
Yeah, the door is cursed. And you will feel compelled to hide it. And then once you feel in your heart of hearts that you have hidden this door, you immediately die. What is the obstacle here?
I feel like a good outline for this one shot could be, you know, you stumble across this door in the very, you know, early parts of the campaign, and you have no idea what this door does. You just feel compelled to, you know, carry it with you. And so maybe, you know, the party is seeking out, like, wizards or people with experience with arcane to, you know, figure out what's going on here, or, you know, going around to local towns and being like, hey, have you ever seen this door before?
I like the idea of someone mentioning, like, the oldest person in the village being like, yeah, I remember that door. Someone came through and asked the same goddamn question. We're building a really scary game.
And the implication there that those two parties were not very creative and probably hid it in, like, the same field. But also, would the party know that the person's going to die when they hide it, or would it be, you know, just a very scary reveal?
Like an ominous feeling.
You'd have to infer it, because I think if someone thoroughly searches the area where the door is left, I think you're going to find remains. And I think it's been so long since this thing was left, like, this thing's been here for like 400 years, maybe. I'm saying if you roll a decent search of the area around the door, you'll find maybe some bones peeking out of the moss or something in the ground.
Now, would a player's first assumption be that it is the door that killed that player, or that, you know, there's some wild animal or, you know, enemy nearby that did it to, I don't know, protect this door or
Probably.
Something?
Yeah.
Probably.
And maybe
Which is a fair assumption.
Maybe there's a big snake.
Ben's not wrong. There might be a big snake
There could
anywhere.
be a big snake, and maybe that big snake is the wielder of the Cloudbuster.
Brittany said it was a field, and if I know anything about living in the Midwest, it's that when you go out in fields, especially with wild grass, big snakes.
That is true.
That's a fact. Lived in the Midwest me whole life. And I don't go in fields. Anyhow. So we've definitely cemented. We're going for a surreal horror approach. Ben's got a good question here. What is the beginning, middle, and end here? Is the door... Brittany, you suggested the door is what starts the adventure.
Yeah.
What circumstance has led the players to find this place to begin with? This is supposed to be a remote area that it was never going to be found in.
Personally, I like the idea that they're sent here to bring this door back. But maybe it's like some wizard who's like, I've detected a powerful magical presence here. Bring me the thing back. Bring me whatever's there back, just like in the beginning of Thor, probably. I never actually saw that movie. But I did see Iron Man, and I saw the after-credits scene of Iron Man 2.
It's basically the same thing.
I just assumed that it opens with everyone like, we noticed there was a big hammer here that made a big hole. What's that all about?
No, I kind of had the idea of like maybe the last group that was hiding this door recently went missing. Their significant other hasn't come back in a long time. They're starting to get worried. And maybe they send, the party out searching for, this person. And maybe, they send like a ranger or somebody who's really good at, tracking smells or footprints to this location. And then if we, don't like the idea of maybe one of the players walking through the door and dying, like maybe it's, our BFF ranger man who does it.
I like that. I also like the idea that the whole group that was with the last door carrier went missing, because nothing says hide it better than making sure there's no witnesses also. So when they put the door down, it turned into a 1v3 and they killed the rest of their party and then killed themselves.
That's spicy.
So you've got
they
like
didn't kill themselves. They immediately died.
That's fair. Yeah.
Oh, that's spooky.
Yeah.
And that kind of, leads to the resolution of if the ranger, is the one to walk through the door. Like he's the final boss fight.
Once he decides this is the right place, then he turns around and kills you guys. He says, nobody can find it again. And so the guide, the ranger, the druid, whoever it is that's kind of escorted the players to this point, that NPC is carrying the door back. And I think it'd be a very interesting twist to have your players roll, say, survival along the way back, to realize that though it's hard to tell at first, the ranger is not leading you back the way you came. He's taking a detour.
But also, I kind of like the idea of maybe the ranger, initially taking you back to the hometown so you can find out more information about the store, report back to the family about what it is you found, and, kind of add more oomph to the campaign in that sense before, maybe the ranger has a suggestion about going somewhere else. And that's when he starts to, try and lead the players astray. Like, the longer he has this door, the more that madness starts to set in. And maybe he eventually starts, trying to lose the party. And so the party has to, keep rolling survival checks to, keep up with him as he's like jumping through trees and running over shrubs and things to, get them lost in a sense.
I like the idea that he's, leading them down, or leading them into the haunted bog from Princess Bride, where there are giant rats and exploding geysers all the time. And he's just walking through, not paying attention, but also not telling him, hey, watch your step there or you'll fall into some sulfuric acid. I think that if we are going with a ranger, the end chase has to be through some sort of haunted forest that's like amplifying the effects of the madness of the door.
Because we've clearly got a theme going. I think spooky bog fits it to a T, or like a haunted wood or something, or
just a normal swamp. I think normal swamps are pretty spooky myself.
Well, to us Midwest boys, if there's anything scarier than a snake in a field, it's a mucky swamp.
And if that swamp has a snake in it, don't even talk to me.
Ugh.
And maybe like the madness that's set into this door as time goes on, like it starts to, kind of seep out and like reshape the wilds. Like, while that bog, was normal before, maybe it's, twisted by that madness and there's creatures there now that you may not typically find in a bog.
Sure.
Like the trees shaped into, just these frightening shapes and whatnot.
I like the unsettling simplicity of the door as originally described, where like in the main prompt that it is just a regular old door that's in the middle of nowhere. But I also like the idea of it, if you wanted to, it's really one of two different ways you can approach it, I guess, of it having a residual mutation of the world around it. That it's just seeping this chaos around it. And
and you know what we can do since we have another magic item?
The Cloud Boy.
You activate that can dampen some of the effects of the door.
So if this thing, very Death Stranding, if this thing's kind of out in the rain, it's going to be hindered?
Yeah, it's like a bit muted because of the sounds of the rain.
Interesting. So it's got kind of an audio component to it that there's this subliminal noise to it that it's seeping to people around it, and that noise can't get through the sound of the rain.
But then if it's raining, the madness is going to seep into our groundwater, and then people are going to drink it. It's just downhill from there.
I've studied immunology. She's dead on.
So is the...
It's how cholera happened and it's how madness happens.
Is the final Is there just like a final fight with the ranger, or do you find
think
him
so.
and he's already dead?
I kind of like both of those. Like maybe, you do have that final boss fight, but in that instance, he doesn't die. He escapes somehow. You think there's a second part to the campaign, but really, the next time you find him, he's just dead.
He's just planted that door and he's dead. I think this is a fucking spooky ooky campaign.
Yeah, this is our first horror one, which is not saying much considering we've done 5 episodes. I think this is episode 5.
I'm kind of curious if we could come up with even just another 1, maybe 2 uses for the Cloudbuster in this case. Because we've really built a whole game around the door. I'm curious if anything else comes to mind here.
You get thirsty.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, rain is a good source of water.
Or maybe it's the ranger, that holds on to, the Cloudbuster. Like, they got a thing with nature. Sure, they may have a thing that manipulates nature. Like, maybe before they were using this to, put out, like, forest fires or whatnot. If, there was an area that was experiencing drought, like the ranger would just turn on his, his Cloudbuster. But maybe he starts using it while he's being pursued to try and stop the other players in their tracks. And when he does that, it accidentally, kind of stifles some of the effects of that madness.
Yeah, I like that being part of his toolkit. That's also pretty good.
But also, makes the environment a little bit slippery for players. So maybe, they have to, occasionally start doing dex checks to avoid from, slipping in the mud.
And if any of them have a slip and slide in their bag of holding, then it could just all turn into a big fun time.
It really could.
Things start to get wet and wild.
Big wet world of fun.
If any of them are wearing white t-shirts, then you got a t-shirt party on your hands.
That's a whole different one shot.
Brittany, the guest traditionally gets first naming rights. So give one. Give us one.
Give one. Do it.
It's not a very funny name, but throughout this, I was thinking of in the game Fable, how there's these things called demon doors and you have to do like certain acts before them, to get them to open and to get the magical item. So I've been thinking demon door.
Okay.
The door that eats people.
Doesn't one of the demon doors want you to like lure someone and kill them?
Yeah.
In front of it? Oh man,
it does
that game is deceptively dark in some corners.
It's a good game.
It does have
sometimes.
a distinct demon door feel.
I feel like demon door is going to get us sued by Fable is the thing. So what if we went for something legally distinct like Demon Souls?
Ooh, Demon Slayer? That's good.
Oh, Demon Slayer. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What?
I can't think of any other demon things.
Hear me out on this one.
I'm a failure.
Dragon's Dogma, Doors Arisen.
It's no Machine for Pigs 2.
It's not. And it's also not good.
The demon door has something I like about it.
3 doors down.
What about Knock Knock?
I hate that.
And it goes like, who's there? And you're like, that's the game. Who is there?
Joke's on you.
What about Ding Dong Death?
Death at your doorstep.
Ooh.
Thanks for joining us again on another episode of One Shot, One Quill. We come out every single Tuesday. You can find us on iTunes and other podcasting platforms. Rating and reviewing us is very helpful in these first few weeks. We sincerely appreciate those of you that have done it already. Ben.
Yeah.
Would you like to thank our theme?
Yeah, our theme song is Ella Tavera del Gulier by Morgan the Bard. He's dead, but you should still go listen to his music.
I really wish that wasn't the new ending tradition.
I don't know who gets paid for it. If you want to send us suggestions, you can do so by finding us at D&D Pod on Twitter. Please do send us suggestions, though, because we are running out.
Especially on the premise side of things. So if you have any short, concise premises for adventures, please do not hesitate to give those to us.
If we don't get any more, then we're going to be canceled by my dad,
who is our sole financier. Brittany, anything you want to promote while you're on?
I have an Instagram account where I draw things. I draw a lot of D&D related things. Draw a lot of vampires if that's up your alley. You can find me at ocelot_art.
And Brittany, most importantly, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure to have you on. You have been a mass contributor to the show so far.
And if you listen closely, sometimes you can hear my laughter in the background of certain episodes.
Only when it's good.
People have always said that's the charm, the background laughter.
Links to our other shows, as always, are in the description, and we will catch you guys next week. Farewell.
Goodbye. Have a good one. See you later. Still need an outro.
Brittany, you got a closing noise for us?
Bye.
Perfect.
Thanks.